Okay, in today's class we are going to discuss about electronic spectroscopy. In this electronic spectroscopy, what is the instrumentation of this UV visible spectroscopy? So UV visible spectroscopy mainly involves the transition of one electronic state to another electronic state. Excitation of electrons are possible from one electronic state to another electronic state is possible. So that's why it is also called as UV spectroscopy is also called as electronic spectroscopy. In the previous class, we discussed about principle of UV spectroscopy. Mainly, there are four types of electronic transitions are possible. One is sigma to sigma star transition. Second is sigma to N to sigma star transition. Third is pi to pi star transition. Fourth is N to pi star transition. So these are the possible N to pi star, N to sigma star, pi to pi star, and sigma star transitions are possible. In today's class, we are going to discuss about what is the instrumentation and what are the applications of this UV visible spectroscopy. So in case of UV visible spectroscopy, instrumentation, we already saw this. Here, radiation source for UV visible is tungsten lamp, otherwise deuterium discharge lamp may be taken. So this light evolved from this lamp is propagating in all possible directions. Now light is passed through the Nicol prism or polarizer. When polarizer or Nicol prism is there, what happens? Light is moving in only one single path, one direction, that is called as monochromatic light. This monochromatic light now is dispersed or what divided into two beams of light and is reflected through the mirrors. These two are the mirrors which used to intensify the light. One of the light beam is passing through the sample whose spectrum we want to determine, that one is the sample. And second is reference compound, which is fixed, which is kept as a fixed compound, that is taken as a reference compound. Now this light is passing through this, one beam is passing through reference, second beam is passing through the sample. So intensity of initial light is extremely high compared to the light coming from the sample and the reference compound, because some of the light is absorbed by these two compounds. So the light emitted by these two compounds now entered into detector, where all the noisy signals can be discarded, and this used to amplify the required signals, and the segregation of signals are possible. Now the signal sent to the final output, which is called a recorder. This recorder is used to give the UV spectrum. Let us see the detailed description about this instrumentation. Radiation source in case of this one. Let us add these members. Radiation source for this UV visible spectroscopy is tungsten lamp or deuterium discharge lamp can be taken, which used to emit. So in our daily life, we are using tungsten lamp, which used to emit this UV visible light. So tungsten lamp is more commonly applied one. Monochromator is nothing but the light which is passing through all possible directions. When passed through this monochromator may be Nicol prism or polarizer can be taken. This used to give the radiation which is passing through the single slit, which used to give the a single beam of light or unidirectional light is obtained. And the next is about sample compartment will be there. Sample compartment is this contains the substance to be examined. So sample compartment, we have to pour our sample into this compartment. So it is a cell which is made up of quartz window, and the reference cell which is in the reference cell we are taking the pure solvent. So reference cell we are taking solvent. In case of sample cell, we are taking the sample dissolved in the suitable solvent. And the next is about detector. Just we saw the detector. Detector contains the devices which are used to convert electromagnetic radiation into electrical current. Now those signals, whatever obtained from the sample and reference compounds gathered by detector and used to analyze where electromagnetic radiation get converted into electrical current. Next we have amplifier. Amplifier used to what amplify the signals, nothing but which used to enhance the strength of signals. The beam of light in the detector are now amplified, and Ratio of sample signal to reference signals are plotted on the recorder. Recorder is nothing but graphical representation of that signals which are absorbed by the given compound. So in that way, we will get UV visible spectrum on this recorder. Amplifier is mainly used to intensify the signals. So that is the about instrumentation of UV visible spectroscopy. Now we are going to discuss about what are the major applications of UV visible spectroscopy, in which field this UV visible spectroscopy is applied. In the qualitative analysis in the sense whether the given compound is aromatic or aliphatic, and especially UV visible spectroscopy is mainly used to determine or identify conjugated systems present in the given compound. Whether the compound is conjugated or non-conjugated, this is a major application of this UV visible spectroscopy. Conjugation in the sense, if any compound have alternate double bonds and single bonds is called conjugated system. Double single bond arrangement will be there, which is called conjugated arrangement. So this can be easily identified by using UV visible spectroscopy. So conjugated spectrum will give the signal at particular region. As the conjugation increases, amount of light absorbed will be reduced because of high delocalization of electrons. So that this is the important tool for the identification of conjugation present in the given compound. That's the reason why. So UV visible spectroscopy, the major application is determination of conjugation. Not only conjugation, but also whether the compound is aromatic or non-aromatic, we can identify by using their signals. And the second is about detection of impurities. Here, UV visible spectroscopy is the best tool or important tool which used to detect the impurities. How can we identify impure peaks means, if already expected peaks are obtained, that is for given compound, if any additional or unwanted peaks are there in the given spectrum of UV visible region, then it indicates the compound contains impurities. Impurities are used to give the noisy signals or unwanted peaks in the unwanted region, unexpected region. So in this way, we can identify impurities present in the given compound. Next is about quantitative analysis. Nothing but if the given compound is unknown and whose the concentration is unknown, we can identify the concentration by using this quantitative analysis. So it is possible to determine the concentration, especially we can use Beer-Lambert's law for the determination of concentration of the given solution. That's why UV visible spectroscopy is also important for the determination of concentration, which comes under quantitative analysis. We are measuring its quantity in terms of its concentration. That's why it is called a quantitative analysis. Now let us go for next application of UV visible spectroscopy, chemical kinetics. Chemical kinetics in the sense, what is the rate of the reaction? Speed of the reaction and rate of the reaction can be identified by using this UV visible spectroscopy. So at what speed the reaction is proceeding, what is the rate of the reaction can be identified by using this UV visible spectroscopy. And the next important tool, important application of UV visible spectroscopy is in environmental chemistry. We can identify the concentration of impurities present in the air. Whatever metals are present, whatever impurity substances present in the environment, we can detect, we can identify by using this UV visible spectroscopy. So that's why it is an important tool in the determination of environmental impurities. And the next is about quantitative analysis of UV visible spectroscopy used in the biochemical studies. Biochemical studies in the sense, in the living organisms, what kind of chemical transformations are possible, especially when we are taking the systems in our body, how enzymes are working, what is the function of those enzymes can be identified, can be monitored by using this UV visible spectroscopy. Enzymatic action, enzyme reactions can be analyzed by using this UV visible spectroscopy. And the next is about concentration. We already discussed this determination of concentration under quantitative analysis. So concentrations can be determined. Next is about geometry of the compound, whether it is the cis compound or trans compound can be identified comparing the wavelength of maximum absorption values of the complexes of unknown compound. So based on their wavelength, we can predict the geometry of the compound. If the geometry is octahedral, tetrahedral, square planar, that can be identified. Even cis trans isomers can be identified by using this UV visible spectroscopy. So the important thing, up to this we completed the applications. The major application for UV visible spectroscopy is determination of conjugation present in the compound. Conjugation is nothing but alternate arrangement of double single bonds. So that is called a conjugation. We can identify whether the compound is conjugated or non-conjugated. If conjugation is there, that conjugation, how extent the conjugation is there, two double bonds are there, or three double bonds are there, or four double bonds. In that way, specific conjugation, we can identify number of double bonds which are in alternate arrangement. We can identify by using this UV visible spectroscopy. And the second is about, we can identify whether the compound is aromatic or aliphatic by using UV visible. Concentration of unknown solutions can be easily identified by using this UV visible spectroscopy. And the next is about, whatever impurities present in the given compound, we can identify impure compound by measuring their unwanted peaks or noisy signals in the UV visible spectrum of the given compound. And next, by using UV visible, we can identify biochemical reactions, especially what is the function of enzymes in our body and what about their rate of reaction in our body can be identified. So any chemical reaction is proceeding, how extent that is proceeding, and its rate of the reaction, it's a chemical kinetics also studied by using this UV visible spectroscopy. UV visible spectroscopy is also important to determine geometry of the compound, whether the compound is octahedral, square planar, tetrahedral, can be easily identified by using their wavelength region. So based on that wavelength, we can identify the geometry of given unknown compound. And the next topic is about Lambert-Beer's law. So by using Lambert-Beer's law, this is the governing principle for all kind of spectroscopy. So based on this fundamental, only all the spectroscopic devices are working. That's why Lambert-Beer's law is the most important one. Let us discuss about Lambert-Beer's law. First is about Lambert's law. Lambert and Beers both are different scientists who gave the interrelation between intensity of the given compound versus concentration. So that is mathematically represented in this equation form. First, let us discuss about Lambert's law. When the beam of monochromatic light passes through the absorbing medium, its tendency in the decrease, its intensity decreases exponentially as the thickness of absorbing medium increases. Okay, so let us explain this Lambert's law by taking a simple example. How can we explain means? So when Lambert's law was taken, we are taking one compound. Through that compound, we are passing monochromatic light. Monochromatic light is nothing but the light which having single path or single beam or moving in one particular direction is called the monochromatic light. When we are passing that monochromatic light through the given substance, what happens? Based on the thickness of this medium, here intensity of decreasing the intensity is possible. Greater the amount of thickness, nothing but greater the amount of concentration, what happens? Greater the amount of absorption of light, then greater the amount of decrease in the intensity is possible. This is called Lambert's law. Lambert's law mainly states that intensity of incident light decreases as the thickness of absorbing medium increases. When thickness is more number of molecules are absorbing the light. That's the reason why intensity of light will be decreased. If more number of species absorbing light, outcoming light strength will be less. That is called Lambert's law, which is mathematically stated as I is equal to I naught into e to the power minus k1 x, where I naught is indicated as intensity of incident light. From the light source, whatever light is coming, that is called I naught. Initial light radiation is called I naught. Then I is nothing but after passing through the sample, the light coming out, emitted light is called I after passing through the sample. Now x is taken as this x is there, x is taken as the thickness of the sample, that is the indirect measure of its concentration. Greater the thickness of sample, in terms of solid we will measure in terms of thickness. If it is liquid, that is measured in terms of concentration. So here Lambert's law is purely applied for solid substances. That's why we are taking x is equal to thickness of the sample, and K1 is taken as the constant which is applied to this Lambert's law. I is equal to I naught into e to the power minus k1 x. Intensity of incident light decreases exponentially as the thickness of medium increases is called the Lambert's law. When thickness is more, what happens? Absorption of light will be more. That's why outcoming light have less amount of intensity. That is the short form of Lambert's law. Now let us discuss about Beer's law. Beer's law is mainly applied to the liquid compounds or solution compounds. Lambert's law applied to solids, whereas Beer's law applied to liquid compounds. When the beam of monochromatic light is passing through the absorbing medium, its intensity decreases exponentially as the concentration of absorbing medium increases. Here we are measuring the thickness in terms of concentration because we are considering here liquids or solution forms. The equation mathematically represented as I is equal to I naught into e to the power minus k1c. Here C stands for concentration, K1 stands for proportionality constant, and I naught is nothing but incident light intensity, and I is nothing but intensity of light after passing through the given sample. So this is about Beer's law, which is mainly applied to the solutions where we can measure the concentration. In case of solids, it is measured in terms of thickness of the medium. When we combine these two equations, it is given as I is equal to I naught into e to the power minus k3x. When we are combining Lambert's law with Beer's law, here what happens here? A new constant will be generated, that is taken as k1 into k2, which is taken as k3, another constant. Constant into constant, it becomes another constant. Then x into c. X is nothing but thickness for solids. C is nothing but thickness for concentration for liquids. Okay, so for both sides we are applying logarithmic values. Log I is equal to log I naught minus, here power is there, that power will come here, and k3x into c. So when we apply log for log to both sides of this equation, log I is equal to log I naught minus k3x into c. Then when we take I terms on the same side, log I by I naught is equal to minus k3xc. So this is about the logarithmic state of the given equation. Now log I by I naught is taken as minus k3 into k3c into x. Here ln value when converted into log, it can be multiplied with 2.303. This side log is there, that's why. So when we take this 2.303 towards this side, that will become denominator. Okay, log I by I naught is equal to minus k3c into x by 2.303. Now log I naught by I is equal to here. So when we take here denominator is there, when denominator is going up, what happens? It becomes minus. So it becomes minus. So then here minus sign is there, minus k3x is there. When we invert the signs, plus 2.303 k3x, it becomes a plus 2.303 because we are inverting the signs. Because we are inverting the total equation. When total equation is inverted, what happens? Log I naught by I. We are taking log I naught by I is equal to 2.303 by minus k3x. So by minus k3x, when it is going up, it becomes a plus k3x. That's why equation is in the form of log I naught by I is equal to plus 2.303 k3xc. Okay, so in this way we can write the equation. Now equation is in the form of y is equal to mx form. Equation is in y is equal to mx. Okay, so y coordinate term is, we can plot the graph in between y axis term log I naught by I, x axis term is concentration, and the remaining total value becomes a slope, that is m. 2.303 k3x is taken as a slope. Here y-axis term is log I naught by I, intensity of initial radiation by intensity of radiation after absorbing the sample, versus concentration. We are plotting the graph. If the equation is in the form of y is equal to mx, here the straight line which is passing through the origin is the graphical representation, and the slope m is represented as 2.303 xc. 2.303 xc is the slope here. Okay, so this is about Lambert's Beer's law. Let us give the definition for Lambert's law again. Okay, when monochromatic light is passed through the sample solution or absorbing medium, decrease in the intensity of initial radiation is exponential with the thickness of increasing the thickness of the medium. As the thickness increases, decreasing the intensity is possible because more number of atoms are absorbing the light. That is called Lambert's law. And second is which is given by I is equal to I naught into e to the power minus k1 x. X is nothing but thickness because we are applying the equation to solids. In that solids, thickness is the measure which used to absorb the light. So same equation can be applied to liquid compounds or solutions. That is called Beer's law, where monochromatic light when passes through the absorbing medium, decrease in the intensity is exponential with concentration of the solution. Greater the amount of concentration, greater the light will be absorbed, so that the outcoming light intensity will be low. The equation is given as I is equal to I naught into e to the power minus k2c, where k2 stands for Beer's law constant and c is nothing but concentration of the solution. When we combine the both equations followed by applying the logarithmic value, the final equation will be log I naught by I is equal to 2.303 K3 XC. The final derived equation is in the form of y is equal to mx. We can plot the graph in between y-axis term log I naught by I versus x-axis term, that is concentration. We will get the slope which is passing through the straight line which is passing through the origin, and the slope value will be 2.303 K3x. So this is about Lambert-Beer's law graph. In UV spectroscopy, due to change in the environment, difference in the absorption shifts are observed. Okay. So when environment of the double bonds or environment in the compound is different, what happens? We will get signals at different regions. This is called Lambert-Beer's law. So in this UV spectroscopy, another terms are there which are important for UV visible spectroscopy. One is called bathochromic shift. Bathochromic shift is also called as red shift. Red shift is nothing but if the intensity or shifting of lambda max values to longer wavelength is called a bathochromic shift. As already we know, there is a inverse proportionality for wavelength and energy. Greater the amount of energy, lesser will be the wavelength. Greater the amount of wavelength, lesser will be the energy. Okay. So bathochromic shift is nothing but shifting of lambda max values, nothing but wavelength values to longer wavelength. Longer wavelength is nothing but less amount of energy. Okay, is called a bathochromic shift. By taking this example, it is very simple and convenient to explain this phenomena, bathochromic shift. We are taking 1,3 butadiene. So this is 1,3 butadiene where two double bonds are in conjugation. Two double bonds are in conjugation. What happens when two double bonds are increased by one more double bond? Here three double bonds are in conjugation. Here double bond is delocalized. Migration of pi electrons are possible here. Here also migration of pi electrons are possible. Okay. Compared to this two double bonds, three double bond conjugation will be more, because here more number of electrons involved in delocalization. That's why energy required for this transformation is low. Hence, compared to 1,3 butadiene, here this compound involved in greater the ease of delocalization with less amount of energy consumption. That's the reason why. So compared to two bond conjugation, three bond conjugation will have longer wavelength. This longer wavelength is called a bathochromic shift. Let us go with another example. In the second example, we are taking benzene. Benzene is the delocalized system of three pi bonds. In this benzene ring, we have always pi electrons are roaming all around the molecule, which is represented by this circle. Circle indicates these pi electrons are delocalizing continuously. Okay. When we are adding one functional group, that is NH2 group. So when NH2 group is added here, when NH2 group is added here, what happens? Nitrogen have lone pair of electrons. These lone pair of electrons again increase the conjugation. These electrons are more prone to release the electrons into benzene ring. That's the reason why conjugation will be enhanced and delocalization will be enhanced. That's the reason why benzene to aniline here, longer wavelength will be observed, which is called a bathochromic shift. Greater the amount of this delocalization, that is greater the amount of conjugation. That's the reason why here lambda max values increases. Less amount of energy is required for that delocalization. In the same way, instead of aniline, we can take OH functional group. This OH group also contains lone pair of electrons in the oxygen atom, which are used to extend the conjugation. When conjugation is extended, again it comes under bathochromic shift. And the second phenomena is called hypsochromic shift, which is also called as blue shift. Bathochromic shift is called red shift, whereas hypsochromic shift is called a blue shift. If the lambda max values are shifted to shorter wavelength, reverse to the bathochromic shift is called hypsochromic, where lambda max values are shifted to lower wavelength. That means high amount of energy is required. So I'll give an example by taking this aniline. Aniline is one compound. When we are taking an acidic medium, when H plus is added to this aniline, what happens? It is converted into NH3 plus. When it is converted into NH3 plus, the lone pair of electrons present on the nitrogen are disappeared, so that conjugation will be reduced. Compared to this aniline, in case of compared to aniline, this when H plus is added here, what happens? It is converted into NH3 plus, where conjugation will be decreased. So aniline to iminium salt, iminium ion, what happens? Conjugation will be reduced so that its lambda max value will be reduced, which is called hypsochromic shift. Hypsochromic shift is nothing but decreasing the lambda max values by means of decreasing the conjugation. When we are taking three bonded conjugation into two bonded conjugation, what happens? Lambda max values increases. That is also called as hypsochromic shift. And the next is about hyperchromic shift. Hyperchromic shift is measured in terms of its absorption intensities. If increasing the absorption intensity is there, that is called hyperchromic shift. If absorption intensities are decreased, absorption intensity greater the amount of absorption intensity, that is called hyperchromic. Lesser the absorption intensity is called a hypochromic shift. All these are represented in this graphical form. Energy versus lambda max value. When lambda max value is increasing, that is called lambda max value is increasing in this way, that is called bathochromic shift. When lambda max value is decreasing, that is called hypsochromic shift. When absorption intensity increases, called hyperchromic shift. Absorption intensity is decreased, called hypochromic shift. By this we completed UV spectroscopy instrumentation, UV spectroscopy applications, UV spectroscopy principle, that is Lambert-Beer's law. And next, what is bathochromic, what is hypsochromic, what is hyperchromic, what is hypochromic shift in case of this molecule. So these topics are covered in this class. So if you have any doubt, you can raise. If any doubts about this, you can ask now.